Good morning. This is the crypto day morning. Today's date is in that of Thursday, 8th of November 2018. My name is Derek. All trades, bets, and of the like within one's own risk reward. Today we're going to take a look at an altcoin that's been around for quite some time. That's Vertcoin. That is down significantly from its open, priced against Bitcoin. That is, it's down 54 times its price. And yet, using one of my trading systems, if you were to trade it from day one, amazing profits. Well, we'll go over that. But for Bitcoin, still maintaining its pattern of lower highs and matching lows. I like to determine highs when it makes a good move above the 18. When it does something like this, and even if it were to pierce a little more than such on October 8th, no, that's such a small attempt. This one close, but this had a good move above it, so the high counts. This was a large enough move, and now it got above here. So the fact that it got above on this date, November 4th, meh. But over the last 4 days, this day included, well, we're seeing strength amongst the 18 average of highs. Well then, right now, it is in the process of establishing a new high, with the last one coming in at 67.56. So that's still close to 300 basis points, or almost 5% of a move, just to get to that level. And until it can get above some of these highs, or break down below the 6100 barrier, and even 5900, this pattern remains in pat. So that will be it for Bitcoin for today's analysis. Just the movements are decent. I like how it's progressing amongst the low volatility. However, we can see here that this last decent move, which occurred on November the 6th, had a nice sideways correction, but down it goes. But it came back to where it came from. And since that point, it hasn't went down lower. It had a test of this low a little bit, but since getting up to the 18 average of lows, doing so at 5 a.m., it had a correctionary move last hour. This hour with it's 7:47 a.m., so with 10 minutes to go, it's progressing nicely. So for the day, holding 64.55 area, 64.50 even. Very, very important. If you see weakness amongst this area, probably might have a chance of going back to the 6400. This is lined in, as this is where the closes pretty much were throughout all of these days in here. And getting above here and holding and staying above like 64, well, where we are now, like 64.60 and change, 60 and change. Staying above there for more than a couple of hours. And see, the price could very easily make a move up to, well, 64.97, then maybe up to 65.32, and then breaking above that, we're talking about working and testing this previous low. So Vertcoin, which is currently priced in a little under 10,000 Satoshi right now against Bitcoin, has been in this long sideways moving pattern for, well, quite some time now. Resistance really big at about the 11.4 number, but lately it hasn't been anywhere near that point. It's grinding its way to where it's just staying in at this 99, 97 number, which good support has been like 97, 98 and all that. So it's hanging on like a thread. It very easily could have another decent leg lower. But let's take a look at this on multiple time frames, 3-day term time frame. As we can see, for the whole year, it's been nothing but down. What was the high when we look at the market? It was a high of about 100,000. So it's lost about 10 times its value, and since the start, it's lost 54 times its value. Okay, let's just look at it through the weekly chart next. And in the weekly chart, we had the situation of this low, from this area here, going from lower than where it is now, 2,400. So 10x on even 2,500 is 25,000. Yet this got to 100. That was 4 times more. So that was a 40x move. And when you look at the nature amongst the volatility, moving up to 18.5, down to 69, and having these green and red candles back and forth like that within my trading system is so magnificent to have that happen. Because that allows me to, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, and of course I'm always selling higher than my last buys, and so on and so forth, and buying lower than where I sell. Selling up here, buying back down here, then all of this wonderful selling. Now, it hasn't had any of this choppy action, but it has for quite some time. Let's take a look at this on a 2-week chart now. And the choppiness has been the name of the game. Now we're going to ignore a lot of these moves, in fact, completely, because I don't have any price recognition down here for the exercise that I have done via a spreadsheet. But this is why it's down over 50 times its value. And this loss in here was pretty big. But then it had this big move. So it's easy to tell point high, point low. Didn't mean to do that. Let's get rid of that, which I don't know how to... How do I get rid of this? That's how I get rid of it. Okay, so point low, point high. Point low, key high. Key low, key high, key low, key high, and rise of now, it's in this very tight congestion area. So how would the trades have worked? Well, let's take a look at it, and I'll first bring the spreadsheet up and talk about the conditions, the very simple conditions in trading this. And I downloaded data going back to February the 11th, which is actually about 6-7 days before this. But 0052, now it's at 0.005. Now it's 0.00009, or 4 zeros before the decimal. So how this works is I started off buying 1 Bitcoin worth with the 0.2, the Bittrex rate of 0.25%. So to start off, 1 Bitcoin would have only purchased 188 2/3 of them. So that was the original buy. So what this does is it takes the ownership of what I have, and I'm starting it with this number. And then I would take the value of it, which is the next day's price. And the price fell from 52.88 down to 47.50 the next day. Then down to 43.52, down to 35, up to 38, down to 3,000, down to 26, and so on and so forth. But the value was 0.91, so you already lost about 9%, or 8.4. That's a differential on the 1. So then, to buy, if, okay, I'll do it here, if this number is less than -0.05, then I'm going to need the inverse of this number to buy it back up to 1. So that brings it to 0.10. And how many will 0.10 buy? Well, this formula calculates it for me. And then the same thing on the sell. So if it's greater than 7% is what I'm doing here. 7% gain, 5% reduction. And I'm buying or selling it to the point of being worth 1 Bitcoin every single time. So the ownership value is always going to be somewhere around this 1 number. And that means when the price goes way down, the ownership of owning a few hundred is going to go up. As we scroll down here, now it's owning 1,200. Now it's owning like 2,800, owning 5,000 of them. And it gets higher. 8,000 almost. Now it's 16,000, 17, 22,000, 24. So scrolling all the way down in here, we can see in here 36,000. But look how fast it goes from 36,000 down to like 10,000, down to 2,800, down to 1,200, down to 553, up to 2,500 because of the extreme volatile moves. If we scroll this all the way down to today, this would mean owning close to 10,000 worth about 0.95, and been waiting for a while to buy, because if we look at the buys and sells on here, there really hasn't been too many. This is showing the extreme minute volatility. We can see before having trades happen quite frequently is nowhere near as normal, which is to be the case when markets get more texture and have more time, as that brings more liquidity in the market, thus reducing the percentile moves. But what this means as far as statistics is concerned, 406,000 of these purchased, costing 45 and almost 3/4 of a Bitcoin, for an average buy price of the we'll say the 112.5 handle. Selling 396,500 and change, receiving a little over 50 Bitcoins, which means that's a differential of greater than 4 on the positive end. Thus up in a market that is down 54 times its current value. That's just staggeringly high. I've done a chart. I'm going to explain to you how I did the chart. So what I've done is I've calculated portfolio, which is basically as simple as taking the sum of everything received, subtract the sum of everything that I've purchased, plus the 1 Bitcoin that my portfolio is always worth. Now, it's when you see all these numbers at 1.45, I mean, it's going to be between 0.05 up to 0.07 off, because of the fact it could be like -1, -1. But it's just a little bit off because of the fact that it says your Bitcoin's worth 1 when sometimes it's worth 0.97 or 1.03 or whatever. But when you look at the chart for how it's done, this is what it would look like. So there's you going down. You start off with the Bitcoin. You would have been down 3.5 Bitcoins at this point. And then all of a sudden you go up 2. But all of these higher highs and higher lows are just that. And this is a market that has been mainly going up amongst this time. But you notice big move up, higher low. Then the move comes back to previous resistance. Big move up. Look at this. So this move in here, this circle, would represent this high in here. And therefore, we can see that this is doing a very successful job in overperforming the market. Now let's continue further in stating that this is a very simplistic measure in trading, and it works. At least it's working here. It has worked. And what I haven't done in this is do things like orders. Maybe for situations I can put in different sell orders so that I can get the bigger numbers possibly and the better buy numbers. And if we take a look at some of the situations in here, at least especially on the days on the early points, this is open, high, low, close. So I'm just trying to see if I can see some interesting highs or lows on here. Oh, it's so hard to read this for me even. Well, here, I mean, well, no, never mind. Well, this one here, I mean, this is the spot where it opened at 20.45, it went up to 39.80, and then it closed at 30.50. So there's a spot where you had a chance to get better sales in here, which would have thus made your portfolio even better. Furthermore, when you see situations where markets are up, you know what, maybe wait a bit to sell, buy back. Yeah, when it's really high like this, maybe instead of looking for a 5% reduction at times, wait for better moves of larger numbers. Furthermore, when you are able to day trade, and you're able to day trade on days where these things are wild, up or down, thus you're able to get more transactions, and maybe within a day you might get 3 or 4 sell orders, 5 sell orders, and like 2 or 3 buy orders, because of the wild movements that can occur. And then again, you would be increasing the how much more you would be up in the situation, of course, that I just provided to you or shown within the spreadsheet. So thank you for tuning in to this video, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.